Welcome back to A People's Guide to Publishing. I'm Joe Beal, the founder and CEO of Microcosm Publishing and Distribution. I'm also the author of A People's Guide to Publishing, which distills what I've learned from selling millions of books over the past 25 years.
I'm Ellie Blue. I'm the editorial and marketing director here at Microcosm. We are an independent mid-list publisher based in Portland, Oregon. We have 14 employees, over 650 titles in print with 20 to 40 new books per year, and we distribute thousands of titles from other publishers.
We started this podcast so that we can share what we've learned with newer publishers so that you can learn from our mistakes.
Or maybe you just want to understand the publishing industry.
This week, we are going to answer a reader question, which is, how many books should I publish each season?
Whoa. Roll it back there. What do you mean by season?
Season? Like when the leaves fall, when the leaves grow back.
So like spring, summer, autumn, winter?
Mm-hmm.
Or rainy and dry, depending on where you are in the world.
Seasonal, like fruit, yeah. Mm-hmm.
What about in publishing?
Fruit actually is the perfect metaphor. Like, you can't...
Let's hear it.
So, in publishing, you publish a book during a certain season based on interests of that topic in that season. So, you wouldn't publish a book about gardening in January. You would publish a book about gardening in March or April, so people have time to read it before the gardening season. And similarly, you publish any book, typically. So it's like if your lead is like, this major historical event happened, on this day, you would publish your book to come out the month before the historical event anniversary that your book is about.
So, but why do we group them into seasons instead of just thinking about what month it comes out?
I know, I used to always, my first 10 years, I just thought of books as okay, well, this is the January book, and this is the February book, and, I never really, and it was just kind of a one-off at a time. And I think the answer to your question is sort of twofold. Partly it's so you announce a season at a time rather than a month at a time, and your data workload is put into a manageable, flow. None of the, I have not researched any of this. This is all speculative, how we ended up with publishing seasons. But part of it too is that this is how the industry operates. So this is the demand that is put on a publisher, so you say, we need you to announce your fall titles now. Ideally, you would have done that already, and then so we're recording this in June, and so we are currently finalizing titles for next spring, a year from now. And that's so we can have all of our data in order and all of our books in order, and we won't have to make rush snap judgments because those tend to be poorly made.
So someone asked me this question recently, and I gave them a different answer, and now I'm worried that I answered them wrong.
What did you say?
Tell me. I said that it was so that the salespeople could go out and sell all the books at once for that season.
But that's why they have that question, and it doesn't really make sense. But so the fact that we've married ourselves to seasons is all a structural fundamental part of the work, and pretty much every episode of this podcast, the answer is because that's how we do things in publishing, and that is why salespeople sell around a seasonal schedule, and that's why buyers expect a visit from their salesperson to be shown fall books in April and spring books in January, or whatever, December sometimes. And a lot of that just comes down to the expectations create behavior, but salespeople, they aren't going to call. On some degree, if you have a really powerful short announced title that wasn't in your catalog, they would call if they were Microcosm is publishing a current events title about, and we did this time, about the Tulsa, race massacre. And, so like this is, and it's like the number 7 book in Oklahoma, which is like such a wide, did you not know that?
I did not know that. That's amazing.
And that's because, it's such an easy counter sell for every bookstore in that region.
And there aren't really books about it, even though it's probably one of the most important events in U.S. history.
Yeah. And so it's like, the other books in print are academic titles or children's titles. So, we had a rare, what's called a drop-in, where we said, oh, we're going to be publishing this book. And, we got more sales out of that salesperson than we did all of last year, just for this one title. Because it's, really easy to just make a phone call and say, yep, got a book about that. How many do you want? Okay, cool. We're all set here, And then we write those orders and we ship those orders, and the bookstores have been reordering. But for most books, it doesn't work like that. They consolidate their workload and they say, I represent these publishers. Here are the books from these publishers. Here are some that might be of specific interest to your store. I'll see you in 6 months. And that's the extent of and let me know if you need anything in the meantime, but
right.
Don't expect to hear from me unless I have a very good reason.
So how many books should people publish per season?
Excellent question, Ellie. Same question the person asked.
You and me, reader, we're on the same page.
And so I've always approached, people have always told me that there isn't hard science on this, which obviously, whenever you tell me that there isn't something, I will go to great lengths to find it. And I found it. And so a lot of it is we tried, I think our busiest year, which will probably be outdated by the time this podcast comes out, was we did, I think, 42 books in 2012. And that was way too many. And then our average year is in the mid to high 20s. And then there were definitely years where we did 2 books or, just trying out different things. And, and the real science of it is you're going to have incredible negative impact on your sales if you don't have new books. So theoretically, the more new books you can publish, the better, assuming you can actually handle the workload. So you need to untangle it backwards and say, how many books can we conceivably publish well? And then that is your target number, because the most you can publish effectively, and that means mostly development, but also, depending on the kind of book it is, publicity and marketing and, editorial and design and all that kind of stuff. That's your magic number, whatever the high mark is on that. So whether that's 6,000 books a season or whether that's 1 book a season, that's how many you should publish.
You recently had me figure that out for the editorial department for this reason, and my answer was 12 and a half.
Okay. But the half book is going to be my favorite every year. What about anyone? Nobody? Okay.
We do a lot of zines.
Okay.
But which are not included in that number, by the way. But it seems like other departments might have a different answer.
Well, everybody has feelings on the matter.
So long as nobody's answer is less than that, I suppose we're in good shape.
Well, I mean, so that's the question is, you have to figure out where your bottlenecks are. So you have to say, okay, should we try to do this? Where are we going to fall down? Who is going to be the one struggling to keep up that, puts everyone else behind, So that, that's why you need to know those numbers. And so sometimes, and that led us to hiring another editor, and that led us to hiring, most notably hiring 4 more people to work in the warehouse, and just because that became
the bottleneck.
The real bottleneck was we couldn't ship orders as fast as we were getting them, which dream problem until it happens, and then you're just oh, this is terrible. Everybody is frustrated with us. So, but the number of books that you want to publish each season is a determinable number. It's the number that you can publish effectively, either with the staff you have or by increasing the staff to the staff that you need, because there's never a shortage of submissions. Everybody and, their brother wants their book published. Not everybody should be published by you, but, if you have a good filter set up, that shouldn't be a problem.
I feel like I learned something this morning, and I've only drunk half my second cup of tea.
Thanks for joining us once again.
Please send your questions to podcast@microcosmpublishing.com so we can answer them on future episodes.
And please give us 5 stars on iTunes and everywhere else that podcasts are reviewed.
You can find us on the internet at microcosm.pub,
On Twitter at Microcosm,
on Facebook at Microcosm Publishing,
on Instagram at Microcosm_pub.
and here in Portland, Oregon on North Williams Avenue.
Thank you so much.
Have a wonderful week.